Hey everyone, I'm Makse of the 776 Gods, and today we're going to talk about realms and the structures that realms exist in. So first things first, a topic we've mentioned in the video about the gods of Zetera, the Petra System. The Petra System, like we've said before, is a system designed by the magical researcher Niar of Petra, and is used to both organize the tiers of godhood and also regions of space. In the Gods of Zetera video, we only mentioned the godhood part of that, but now that we have that out of the way, let's get into it. The half of the Petra system that we didn't discuss simply defines how regions of space fit within each other. Each realm has a realm shell which protects it from outside influences such as the void. In most circumstances, realms exist within a realm system, which in turn exists in realm clusters. Realm clusters exist within superclusters, which exist in trinal clusters. And finally, we arrive at the largest collections in-lore researchers have been able to deduce, tetraclusters. These subdivisions are all divided by increasingly thicker shells, which keep the void from crushing smaller subdivisions. The shell of a realm has been observed to be about 1/4 of a kilometer thick. The shell of the Destiny system, the system that Zetera exists in, is estimated to be around 6 kilometers thick, just for sense of scale. The material that these shells are made of is not fully understood by magical researchers at this point. It's sort of a weird, white, translucent, spongy material. Now take note that it is possible to have a realm that doesn't exist within a system, and instead exists in a supercluster, for example. While this is possible, it isn't healthy for the realm, because the density of the void is much higher the less divided it is. Now on to the realms themselves. Like we've discussed before, realms are living beings made of at least one layer. They usually have a surface layer where people can live, and then they have a protective shell which holds back the void. Realms exist on a spectrum anywhere from fully awake to fully asleep. A sleeping realm is more or less helpless on the cosmological scale, and requires the assistance of a pantheon to survive, more often than not. Sleeping realms are extremely unlikely to create Jiraki, which are one of the realm's main lines of defense. A waking realm is fully aware of its surroundings and of what it is. Waking realms are deadly to all but the most extreme life forms on their surface, and are a huge threat to other realms, if the waking realm is particularly ornery, that is. They give off a constant flow of high-density mana radiation, which, when absorbed by living things at certain rates, can cause swift death or even cause the affected individual to explode. Magically resistant creatures can still survive in these conditions, but this also limits their ability to use mana and magic. Waking realms, like sleeping realms, are extremely unlikely to create Jiraki, mainly because they have no need for them. Just like people, realms can wake up or go to sleep, though this process is more gradual for them, often taking hundreds to thousands of years to completely reach one side of the spectrum or the other. From what many researchers have discovered, the process of a realm waking or falling asleep is more or less random, or at least it's very unpredictable. Realms are brought into existence in a small variety of ways. One of them is how Zetera was created. Through the use of a special magical ritual, a powerful god can attempt to contact an extraplanar entity. This entity may agree or disagree to become a realm. In the event that they accept, their massive soul appears before the god, or that god then must work with the entity to create the shells around it. Another method is through a currently mysterious process. It appears that sometimes a realm can spontaneously appear in the cosmos with no prior indication that it would do so. Researchers speculate on whether this is because the extraplanar entities simply want to become a realm, or that another outside force may be enticing them to do so. For an aspiring world arbiter, obtaining a realm is a huge leap in influence and power. It's all but guaranteed that you'd at least turn a few heads, unless you create a realm in a particularly hidden location. For the realm itself, it can be a toss-up. You could either end up with a fiercely loyal army of lesser beings that want to protect you, or you could be attracting all of the wrong attention to yourself. Almost all realms are not spherical, and instead are ellipsoids. This trend also extends to realm systems and every tier beyond. Magical researchers still do not know why this is the case. On many realms, day and night still exist. However, many realm systems do not have a central star or other prominent light source. The reason these realms still have sunlight is often due to the arbiters. If the arbiter's homeworld had sunlight, chances are they will make a similar feature on their realm, such as a moving bright spot. This can have varying effects on how time is calculated. On Zetera, each day lasts about 20 hours, for example. Now briefly, we're going to change the scale at which we're talking. The distance between realms has gotten much larger in recent millennia. This is mostly due to the influence of the Voids, who we'll be discussing in a later video. Because of the voids, many realms have been destroyed, leaving very few realms as the last bastions of non-void life. Because of the extreme distances between populated realms, the most effective method of travel at this point would be portals, and specifically the Spirit City network, simply because they already have the portal set up. Because of the thickness of system shells and the assumed thickness of cluster shells, and so on, it is viewed as fairly probable that void travel will be out of the question long into the future, except for places such as the Wintergreen system. So let's bring the scale back down a bit and discuss something a little bit more entertaining. What would happen if two realms were to collide? Well, first, to remind you, the shells around realms are not fully solid and are a sort of weird spongy material. The shells are also extremely durable, with system shells being able to withstand a realm slamming into it at full speed, leaving the system shell more or less unharmed. Though when a collision like this occurs, everybody on the surface feels and sees it. The normal color of the sky in the direction of the system shell will turn a milky white and the entire realm will shake. If the collision is particularly violent, the realm shell will compress and spring the realm back the way it came. This event causes a second shake, as the realm transfers all of its momentum. Aside from the buildings on a realm being damaged or destroyed, a collision is mostly harmless. Because of the difference in density between realm shells and system shells, there is very little reason to worry about the shells merging. However, when two realms collide, that's a different story. Realms have much thinner shells than systems, and because of this, they're particularly susceptible to highly damaging collisions. While the compression of the shells happens, just like we mentioned before, the angle of the collision and the speed define what happens next. If it's just a glancing blow, where the realms sort of skid against each other, the most that will be felt by the denizens is more or less just a mild shake, and a low rumbling sound coming from the sky. A more direct collision, such as two realms colliding at a skewed angle, can already cause serious side effects. If the collision is slow, the two realms will most likely bounce gently off of each other, causing a shake. If the collision is more moderate speed, the realms may experience shell merging, where the realm shells actually begin to integrate with each other. This type of collision will transfer a lot of kinetic energy into the shells, causing a skyquake. This event will cause a pressure wave to move through the realm's atmosphere, destroying structures near the collision, and potentially harming or killing denizens of the realm near the collision. After the initial collision, the realms will most likely begin to rebound, which could cause a second skyquake, or it could potentially rip a hole in the realm's shell. Lastly, we arrive at the worst collisions theorized, high-speed collisions. A semi-direct or direct high-speed collision of realms will most likely kill anyone on the side of the realm that was impacted. As we described earlier, the collision will cause the realm shells to merge, causing a skyquake. But it will continue beyond that, compressing the now merged shell against the surface, flattening any features, buildings, and people that were unlucky enough to be there at the time. At this point, it's possible for the realms to begin physically merging. If the initial collision of the shells didn't absorb enough kinetic energy, the realm shells will be squeezed from between the realms, launching a wave of superheated shell material at high speeds into the surrounding landscape, which in turn causes the atmosphere to begin heating up. Enormous quantities of material will be thrown in all directions, making way for the realm's souls to collide. If the momentum is still high enough, the souls of the two realms may merge. This is the realm's extinction event. Based on models made by the research facility of the Janney camp, an energetic pulse could burst from the newly merged souls, ejecting the realm's material and shell into the void. This explosion could possibly even damage the system shell or surrounding realms if it were violent enough. Anyone who survived this explosion, or those on nearby realms, would most likely be irradiated by mana and potentially ionizing radiation. That is, if the material was heated enough, or the collision and subsequent explosion caused materials to fuse. All of the things we've just spoken about can be mitigated or even prevented as long as the realm has a competent arbiter. Though even then, if a particularly malicious arbiter or awakened realm wants to try to cause a collision, it may only be a matter of time. Unfortunately for the people living on the realms, if two realms are going to collide, whether due to an arbiter or the realm itself, there's little you can do, unless you have access to a portal that can allow you to escape. In the event of an imminent collision, you will likely have a minimum of about an hour before the collision, from when the other realm becomes visible to the time of impact. Depressing, huh? Well, I suppose it's a good thing that that sort of thing can't happen in real life. Oh, right. Well, anyways, I hope you found this video as existential crisis-inducing as I did. Have a good one. This is Makse of the 776 Gods, signing out.